New Yorkers, prepare yourselves. The Consuelos family is taking over Broadway. Mark Consuelos is set to make his own Broadway debut this spring as well. Mark, 54, and his wife and live with Kelly and Mark co-anchor Kelly Ripa, 55, took to the latest installment of their daytime talk show to break the news that he will make his way back to the stage in just a few short months. The Riverdale star was newly announced to join the upcoming revival of the Noel Coward play Fallen Angels, joining previously revealed lead cast members Rose Byrne and Kelly O'Hara. The show will begin previews on March 27th before opening on April 19th, ending its limited engagement on June 7th at the Todd Hames Theater. An official logline for the play reads, "Sparkling, dizzying, and deliciously potent, Noel Coward's champagne-fresh comedy of bad manners shocked and delighted audiences in its 1925 premiere. Two upper-class wives, their husbands away for the day, share a few toasts to their premarital dalliances with the same man, who just may be en route from France to visit. Old rivalries and past scandals bubble to the surface in this intoxicating romp from one of theater's comedy masters. As soon as I saw that backstage, it became official in my mind. I started sweating," he admitted to Kelly on the show on Wednesday, January 21st. Kelly then confessed that while his anxiety is kicking in now, hers did the same when he first agreed to star in the show months ago. He did share, though, that he was excited to return to the stage after years of TV and film work. Mark previously made appearances in several off-Broadway productions, most notably standing on Ceremony, the gay marriage plays. However, as the pair later then pointed out, his stage debut couldn't have come at a more awkward time. "Our youngest son, recent University of Michigan School of Drama graduate, is also going to be on Broadway," the Hope and Faith alum proudly told the studio audience. The couple's youngest son, Joaquin Consuelos, 22, was announced as one of the cast members for the upcoming revival of Death of a Salesman on Broadway. And both shows are slated to begin in the same time frame as well. The revival will star Nathan Lane and Laurie Metcalf in the leading roles. Previews will begin on March 6th at the Winter Garden Theater, and opening night will take place on April 9th, just 10 days before Fallen Angels opens with his dad on stage simultaneously. "We're going up against each other," Mark joked. "So every night I'm going to have this choice. Who do I see tonight? Do I go see my husband, or do I go see my beloved son?" Kelly further added, although Mark, always the proud dad, encouraged her to put their son's own Broadway debut first. "Or do both. Do a matinee, and then at night," he suggested, and a mom of 3, the couple also shares son Michael and daughter Lola, confirmed, "I'm just going to be seeing hella theater." When their producer Michael Gelman asked why she couldn't book a show too, she retorted, "Would you like me to die of an anxiety attack?" Kelly Ripa woke to the kind of morning that smells like fresh coffee and a script full of possibilities. New York rain tapping its applause against her window, the city still yawning, and a calendar that now felt less like paper and more like juggling pins. There was a note on the kitchen counter in Mark's handwriting, the kind of looping, confident scrawl that had once convinced her to marry an actor, reading simply, "Tonight, first read-through. Tonight, the stage again." She smiled, then frowned. The magnet on the fridge held an article clipped from some entertainment site. The headline was the sort of small domestic thunder that made household talk show segments. Their son was on Broadway, and so unexpectedly was his father. Across town, her husband, Mark Consuelos, was practicing a line in the hallway. He did it softly at first, then louder, his voice ricocheting off the plaster until the front door rattled with laughter. "Champagne fresh," he said, tasting the words, because that was what the playwright's copy called it. A glittering comedy, neat as a cocktail umbrella. He liked the idea of stepping into a world that required corsets of manners and quicksilver smiles. He liked the thought of immediacy again, the electric, unfiltered exchange between actor and audience that TV couldn't quite replicate. And then there was the other voice in the house, the one that lived up the staircase, that trimmed the shirts and rubbed his parents' foreheads with the tenderness of someone who had waited in wings all his life. Joaquin Consuelos, recent graduate, dark-eyed, brimming with the solemnity of someone who had just finished a conservatory degree and now had to prove that school was, in truth, rehearsal for life. He had called from his dorm room still smelling of wood glue and late-night monologues to say, almost shyly, that he'd been cast in a revival, one that held a weight of American tragedy, not champagne. He was going to inhabit the bruised, fragile landscape of a salesman, to learn economy in silence and thunder in speech. New Yorkers would later call it the season of the Consueloses, a household divided by two different kinds of light, both set to flicker in the same city at the same time. The father in one play, the son in another, opposite poles of comedy and pathos. The week the notices came down, the calendar boxes, March, April, June, swelled and buttressed like stage flats too close to one another. I don't know how we'll do it, Kelly told a mirror, applying a little more mascara than the day demanded. On television, she and Mark had rehearsed the moment for months. Banter, jokes, the inevitable bit about who's better at folding laundry. On Live with Kelly and Mark, she'd say it with a wink, but in the quiet of their kitchen, without an audience, the jokes sat heavy. Families were supposed to support each other. There were logistical realities that no punchline could soften. Evening performances, critics with clipboards, the rare wonder of a single matinee run. Their house became a tiny repertory company. The living room sofa, usually a safe harbor for guests and pillows, turned into a map. Rehearsal notes for his play pinned with magnets, his son's scripts highlighted in lavender. Kelly would pick up a line from one script and lay it beside the other, a seamstress testing two garments on the same mannequin. She imagined herself at a crossroads, one route glittering with champagne and laughter, the other shadowed and honest, the kind of sorrow that breathes life into a city. Each evening felt like an invitation, choose, the city said, yet she was resolved to do both. Tonight, I'll see both, she declared, as if saying it aloud could smooth the seams. Mark laughed, a warm, generous sound. Matinee and evening, he suggested, clapping his hands like a director. Do the Broadway double, see Joaquin at the Winter Garden, and then pick me up at the Todd Hames. She imagined it, a matinee of a heavy, aching play whose clap is more a benediction than an ovation, then a quick dinner, a change of shoes, and a shift into the champagne world of wit and satin. Between them, she pictured herself darting through the lobby like a stagehand, clutching two ticket stubs as talismans. She practiced the roles of an audience member and a mother in the mirror. One required patience, the other required an appetite for pride, so fierce it burned. To see a son on Broadway is to watch the culmination of a private history reframed in public. Every homework assignment, every bedside pep talk, every ride to early rehearsal, all distilled into a single breath on stage. To see a husband enter a performance is to witness a man returning to a different self, retrieving something from before the daily obligations of life smudged it away. Outside, the city carried on as always. Tourists with umbrellas blurred past marquees, the lights bathing their umbrellas in theatrical gold. The winter had kept its hold a little longer, but the warm-up of spring suggested a coming thaw, both literal and metaphorical. Broadway posters blossomed on columns and kiosks, one announcing the revival of Death of a Salesman with solemn gravitas, another promising the effervescence of fallen angels. The contrast between the shows became a kind of private joke in their house, tragedy at the Winter Garden, champagne at the Todd Hames, and Kelly stuck between them like an intermission. The rehearsals took on a rhythm of their own. Mark would return home from his read-throughs at odd hours, his speech still coated in cadence, a warmth in his hands from stage lights. Joaquin, too, practiced his rake floor walk at the dinner table in a way that made Kelly's heart lift and break in equal measures. It was only later, watching them in the living room under the lamp's glow, that she realized how each of them moved through air in different ways. Mark, with a practiced theatricality learned over decades. Joaquin, with an earnestness that felt like new paint fresh, bright, a little tacky. The family, small and perfectly configured, became a chorus. Michael and Lola offered support from across the city, their voices on FaceTime rising and falling with gossip and agenda. The neighborhood theater community buzzed. Colleagues congratulated them. Directors slipped them into conversations like secret violet petals. On television, where everything shrunk to headlines and running jokes, the announcement was one more delightful item among many. But at home, it was a private constellation. Tonight, Kelly sat on the couch, fingers wrapped around a mug as Mark warmed his hands by the window. I want to be a regular person who can see both of you and not feel.